Louis is one of those performers. Louis is one of those performers that's always been around, and unfortunately, I think we, as a culture in America, has kind of taken him for granted because he's just always been there. So it's like every Christmas, there's a Christmas song, or like there's a commercial with A Wonderful World, or something you hear his voice, or some people are doing impressions. So you always have that. But when I really got into him was actually during the pandemic. I decided, we were all trying to figure out what to watch and you were at home, what to do. And I had finally convinced my wife to watch Ken Burns Jazz. And Ken Burns Jazz is like 15,000 years long. So it takes, you really do need the whole pandemic to watch it. But the first 3 or 4 episodes were about Louis Armstrong. And I just went, what is going on? I have to figure this out. That's how I got into it like that.
So we were talking about when we first discovered Louis Armstrong and how we felt about his music.
For me, my experience is kind of common with most in that it was it's more of a nostalgic experience, hearing his voice around the holidays and Christmas time and stuff like that. But not really, he feels like a different generation, a distant land in a way. So getting the opportunity to get to know him more intimately and see him as a human being and his flawed traits has been really special.
Well, actually, I think I became more in contact with Louis' music just during this process because it's, it's such an intense, intimate process that you can't help but to familiarize yourself a little bit more with Louis Armstrong. And that's it.
I think like a lot of people, hi, I'm Gian Figgins. I think like a lot of people, I grew up with Louis Armstrong in the house. Like still listening to records for those who might be too young for that kind of thing. But one thing that I used to love was that his music would sometimes show up in like a Disney movie. One of my favorite Disney movies, Jungle Book. He had a whole album of the music from the Jungle Book. So it's a part of our, I think we like James was saying, we take it for granted because he's just kind of always been a part of our lives.
While Kim's catching her breath, I feel like I was rude. I should have all of y'all introduce yourselves. And I know we know who they are and what roles, but in case you didn't look at the playbook, can we go down the line and say our name and who we played?
My name is James Monroe Eichelhart, and I played Louis Armstrong.
Yeah!
My name is Jenny Heine Fleming, and I play Lil Hardin.
Hi, my name is Dion Figgins. I play Daisy Parker.
Hi, my name is Kim Exum, and I play Alpha Smith.
Hi, I'm Darlicia Searcy, and I play Lucille Wilson.
Yeah!
Thank you. I forgot to do that earlier. Kim, we were talking about the first time we discovered Louis Armstrong and how we felt about his music.
I don't remember not knowing who Louis Armstrong is. I guess like the music, A Wonderful World was probably my first introduction, and Hello Dolly. Yeah.
He's someone who's always been around. That's what he has that vibe for sure. So then when y'all got the role for this show, knowing his impact on the larger culture, what was the most exciting thing and what was the most nerve-wracking thing?
Two things. The most exciting thing was to get the challenge of playing this man, especially when I got to know him, because there's the who you know for what he's been presented as in film and television, and then there's the real brother. And I have to say it like that because that is who he was. Louis may be one of the blackest performers in the history of performing. Just his whole way of doing everything was authentically black. I know that sounds crazy to say, but he just was. And the other challenge was to look at my wife and go, oh snap, I have to do this voice every night. How are we going to do this? Yeah. And was able to come up with, I called a friend of mine who has done some crazy voices. He sent me to a wonderful vocal coach who helped me out. And I also see my ENT twice a week. I should say twice a month to make sure that my cords look okay. And between all this study I had done, but it was so exciting to be able to step into his shoes and tell his truthful story. That was so much fun to me.
Yeah.
For me, I think think I was most excited about the fact that she was a woman who was unsung for what she accomplished during that time period. Women weren't really allowed to occupy those spaces, to be band leaders in the 20s, and to play the piano and to be in those smoky, dirty clubs or whatever you want to call it. But so it was exciting to be able to exemplify somebody who was a classically trained woman who was well within her right and her merit to be where she was and establish what she did and paved the way, really. So she's a real trailblazer, so that thrilled me. But I think that because we are going over such a large span of time and jumping so much in time, focusing so much on how focused and driven she was, she could become kind of a one-dimensional, like, business woman, as opposed to being a really flesh and blood human being with feelings and emotions who's deeply in love with this man. So I think it was that challenge of really being able to give her 3 dimensions that felt a little daunting, but I was also excited to tackle.
I think a thing that we don't always talk about with Louis Armstrong is his early life, because it's a little dark and it's got some little seedy in there. Louis's mom and his sister were both prostitutes as well, and it's a part of his life that we like to hide because it's convenient for us to just focus on the part where he's this glamorous star and we don't talk about where people come from. So I think representing the truth of Louis, that maybe people aren't so comfortable with, that was important. I think that was what I was most excited about, giving dignity to people who are marginalized or might be in the fringes of society. I think it's important that those people be represented with some dignity as well. And so, that's where Louis is from. And so I think it's important that be spoken about, and that, for me, I think the part that was nerve-wracking is, are people open to the truth? Because sometimes, we try not to worry as actors about how our characters are going to be perceived, but at the same time, it's something in the back of our mind. Are we open to telling the truth of this person? And I think that was the part that was the most nerve-wracking.
Okay, so the original question was when I got the audition, or when I got the part. I'm sorry, it's so hard to remember.
Yeah, no, when you got the part, what was the most exciting thing for you and the most nerve-wracking thing?
Thank you. When I got the part, the most exciting thing for me was that I was gonna do an original Broadway show. I've never done an original Broadway show before. I was gonna retain a role.
Yeah.
So that was the coolest thing, and the most nerve-wracking thing, not knowing, you just don't know the outcome. My brain was thinking more of less creatively and more logically strategic, businessy. So it was a risk. I was already at another show and I'd been there for a long time. So I was scared that the show was gonna close early. And I was right to be scared. But yeah, that's it.
Once I got the part, first of all, in the audition process, once I received the material, I really, really loved Lucille Wilson. It seemed to just hit me in the right way, whereas I really understood who she is and have so much respect for her. One of the things I was committed to was actually making sure that you're stepping into a real human's shoes and making sure that you give her the ownership and the levity and all the idiosyncrasies that she has, so that she is a fully developed woman who actually lived during, how many wars? 3 wars, Jim Crow, with Louis and all of his stuff. I found that extremely exciting. I really loved learning as much as I have, and I will continue to learn as much as I can about her. Going to the house in Corona, Queens was so exciting. Oh my God. It was a really exciting trip. I took my son with me, and to get to explore that home and to feel the presence of the two of them there and to understand the history that comes with that place and all of the people who are, you know, trailblazers in music and in politics and in various parts of our world and our community have walked and sat in that home. It's really, I find myself still awestruck about that, and I think for those of you that have not gone to the house, please go. You will be absolutely delighted to learn as much as you have. I think the most difficult part is really attending to her when it comes to the 4th chapter, because I'm waiting for such a long period of time, and then to come out, it has to be energetic because we started in the Cotton Club, and really like building your energy up so that you can really hit the downbeat and have all of that energy. It feels like I'm being shot out of a rocket when I've been in stasis for such a long period of time. And also achieving all of the layers and levels that come with that chapter, because we're going through highlights and dark times and being very clear with all of you about where we are and who we are and what is happening. That is a consistent challenge, but I'm totally up for it. I absolutely enjoy it.
Yeah.
Thank you for all of those answers. Those were really great. Last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago, I got to do a talk back with the creative team, and y'all kind of touched on this as well. We talked about how the show is like blackity black, 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 and how Oren, as the book writer, was like, I didn't want it to look like it was just like shucking and jiving kind of stuff for white audiences on Broadway. I wanted it to feel rooted in truth. And Ricky Tripp, the choreographer, said some beautiful things as well. Yes. And so I asked them this question, and I love
I'm just gonna throw it out there, and DeWitt Fleming.
DeWitt Fleming,
choreography. Don't speak his name.
Yes. He did the panel as well, and they all had really great answers. What I'd like to know y'all's answers too of what does it mean to you to be adding to the legacy of a Black show on Broadway?
Well, I think it's, not only is it divine timing, you know, I certainly believe in that. What the conversations that we're having inside of the show are completely relevant to what's happening in the world. And, you know, the description of Louis that he provides to all of us about himself is completely accurate as to the questions we should be asking about who we are and where we are in today's society. And so the music that we have inside of the show also helps to support not only love, but challenge, and just it courses through, you know, the trajectory of his life so that we can understand what kind of creative he actually was and where those things come from, and the women that help, you know, help support that and help create that for him. We have a responsibility, and for every Black show that exists, I'm thrilled that we are part of the canon. We needed to be here, that's why we are here, and I don't think we're going away, we're just transitioning.
I just briefly, I love the fact that you get to see 4 very, very different types of Black women. You know, just to continue to emphasize the point that Black people are not a monolith, and we can be varied, we can be strong, we can be vulnerable, we can be open, all of those different. We can be messy. We can be messy, all of the above, yeah.
I also think one of the fun parts is when I was a kid, I would go back and listen. I love Deion saying having records, going back and doing all the, you know, all the soundtracks. And so, you know, you had the Bubbling Brown Sugars and the Amos Behavens and the Whizzes, and then you got to the Dream Girls, and then you got to, you know, all the different ones. And it's fun to do a show that is, you know, written by Black folks and partly directed by Black folks, written by Black folks, you know. because what happened was that we were in the shows, but they were written by white folks or directed by white folks. But to have this, and also to have this show where it is, you can see how the times have changed. We probably couldn't do a show this honest back in the 1980s. I think people would be like, wait, I don't know what's going on and what do they say? But we are right where we need to be as we are, and this show here will open the doors for other writers to write more honest shows as we go along. There is a transition with this particular show. This particular show being on Broadway right now is allowing other artists to look at this and go, oh, okay, so yeah, we can say some stuff that may be uncomfortable. Cool, let's go with that. And it's gonna be fun to see what the next crop of shows come up and say.
So I got this signal that we have to wrap up, which is, I know, so sad because we could stay here all night. But so lightning round, we were talking about our favorite songs and scenes earlier. For y'all, what is the scene or song that you look forward to every night?
My song.
I think my favorite moment is with Jenny. Just the bond that we've created off stage and the security that we've created makes it possible for us to claw each other's eyes out every night. And it's just really, it's gratifying to be in a scene where it's not really about him. It's about our own stakes as women and us holding our ground as women. And I spend a lot of the show listening to people say really terrible things about my character. So to be able to come in to a space with a woman who is notable in her own right, talented in her own right, and have my shoulders back and look her squarely in the face and have dignity for myself is so important for my character. And I just really love playing that scene with her. It's just always, who knows what's going to happen in that moment. So just that whole scene is just really fun to play, so. That's my fifth.
My favorite is definitely one of that is like number one. Number two would be when you're smiling, because that's my husband. So I got my sister, I got my husband. My real life husband, DeWitt Fleming, who does the tap dance choreography. So I think that's a remarkable number.
My favorite is Up a Lazy River. It's been my favorite since rehearsal. It's just so pure, and it really says a lot about where we are in consciousness because of that song. And then the echo of that song also says where we are in consciousness because of the lynching that happens. So I really like, the X-ray of that song.
It's easy for me. I have three moments that I look forward to. One, I get the best seat in the house because I get to walk up while Jenny is singing. So she's singing, but she's center, and I get to stand on forward and I just look at her. And I'm watching, and I get to do it every night. So if she does a different riff, I'm like, hey, and I get to react. I'm like, do you think I'm acting? I'm like, ooh, that's dope, that's wow, it's good. But then also, there's those moments where you get to be on stage with your boys. And I've known DeWitt, I've known her husband for a very, very long time. And so for us to get to share the stage together in that moment and dance together and have that whole scene is so much fun. But there is something about watching. I make a joke in the show that you can see me, but I can also see you. Watching the reaction during What a Wonderful World is one of my favorite things. Because there's a moment where there are folks, you can see in people's faces, them remembering when they first heard it, where they were, they're holding hands with people. You see young people, older people, there's not a person that isn't, touched by the song. And then even the people that weren't touched, I love when the wives drag their husbands to a musical. And the brothers are sitting there just stone-faced for the whole show. Just like, nah, I'm not into this, I'm here because of her. And then the Wonderful World starts, you see them going, and it's so cool to see that song touch people because it's a part of our show, but Louis didn't know what that song was going to be. Louis passed away before the song became number one. The song, when it first came out, was number one in Europe, but it wasn't number one in America. It didn't become number one in America until Robin Williams put it in Good Morning Vietnam. So Louis never got to see what the song would become for the rest of the world. So for us to get to do this show and get to watch what it does every night is the coolest experience. And I love singing it. I love the fact I get to sing it with these 4 ladies. Also, come on, there's not a dope woman singer that is better than these 4 right here. And to hear them, there are moments where I almost forgot to sing. I'm like, right, I'm supposed to do something. Because they're here, so that's cool. That's one of my favorite moments.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you for sharing your guests on the stage. Thank you so much, y'all, for coming tonight and to Track Rack, and congratulations on an amazing run, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.